Good morning, children. Welcome to online class, First Language English, 10th standard. Today we are going through the lesson third, The Gift of the Maggie, written by O. Henry. O. Henry, that is author of this story. This is a well-known short story that is by American O. Henry. The story first appeared in New York Sunday World, that is in December 10, 19, in the year 1905. Okay. Now, this is a very humorous story and also thought-provoking also. After reading the story, then you will come to know, is it necessary? And later, it will show the love of a couple, Jim and Della. Okay, now coming to lesson, $1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by bulldozing the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher until one's cheeks burned with the silent imputation of a parsimony that such close dealing implied. So 3 times Della counted it $1.87, and the next day would be Christmas. So Della was counting the money she had. How much she had? She had only $1.87. How many times? She counted it 3 times. But because why? She needed money for what? To buy a Christmas gift. Because the next day was a Christmas. And so, how she saved money in this $1.87, 60 cents was in pennies, 60s. So $1.27 were in cents, but 20 cents were in pennies. So then she counted many times. And how she saved that money? She saved that money by bargaining hard about prices with the grocer and vegetable man and a butcher. So what she did, there was clearly nothing to do but flopped down on the shabby little couch and a howl. So Della did it, which instigates the moral reflection that life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating. How she felt, there was nothing to do for Della, fall on the bed. So Della did it. Della burst into tears on the couch, which gives the situation of a Jim and a Della. For them, life is made of sobs, sniffles, and smiles. Even then, sniffles are predominating. Next one, while the mistress of the house is gradually subsiding from the first stage to the second, take a look at the home. Now, because their situation, that is a financial position was getting worse, when you will make out when you see the house. A furnished flat at $8 per week. So what is the rent? $8 per week. It did not exactly beg a description. What is that? That is a furnished flat, that is $8 per week. It did not exactly beg a description, but it certainly had that word on the lookout for the mendicancy squad. It was not looking rich also, but it was looking very bad position. It was not giving a good look because they had shortage of money. That certainly had that word on the for the mendicants squad. So even that is, they were living in a rented furnished house which could not meet the standards of gentle poverty. That much poor situation they are living. In the vestibule, fourth para, in the vestibule, below was a letter box into which no letter would go, and an electric button from which no mortal finger could coax a ring. Also, appertaining thereunto was a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young. So that a vestibule, then what they could say, that is a letter box. Letter box had a not full name, that what is that? It had a, that is the entrance. Every house will have a letter box, isn't it? So that letter box, then it didn't have full name, but there was a card that is Mr. James Dillingham Young. Mr. Dillingham had been flung to the breeze during a former period of prosperity. They was very good. They were in a good position when his possessor was being paid $30 per week. That time he had a $30, so ample $30 a week. Now what happened? Income was shrunk to $20, though they were thinking seriously of contracting to a modest and unassuming deal. So what happened now? The 30 to reduced to $20. That is their income. So even everything, no, they had to adjust and live. So that's why then all the letters gone only. That D was hanging in the letter box. And whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home and reached his flat above, he was called Jim. He was called as Jim and greatly hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham Young. That is, Mrs. Della used to hug him and already introduced as Della, which is all very good. So, but even though the situation is even though the condition what they were living was very poor, but they both are loving each other. And Della finished her cry and attended to her cheeks with the powder. Now, Della, she stopped crying, then got up and applied powder on her face, and she stood by the window and looked out then dully at a grey cat walking a grey fence in a grey backyard. So the grey color, it is they are telling it is a symbol of a bad situation also. So that's what they have told here, grey fence, a grey backyard and a grey cat also. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day. So she had only $1.87, she wanted to buy Jim a present. And she had been saving every penny she could for months, not one day or 2 months, for months together. Then she was saving that money for what? To give a gift to Jim when on a Christmas day, then Eve. $20 a week doesn't go far. Expenses had been greater than she had calculated. She tried to save much money, but she couldn't. They always are only $1.87 to buy a present for him and her Jim. Then many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him. Something fine and rare and sterling, something just a little bit near to being worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim. So because she loved Jim very much and she wanted to give a present so that should be worthy of him. So that's why she planned since a long time, then saved money, then she tried. There was a pier glass between the windows of the room. Perhaps you have seen a pier glass in a $8 flat. A very thin and very agile person may, by observing his reflection in a rapid sequence of longitudinal stripes, obtain a fairly accurate conception of his looks. Della, being slender, had mastered the art. So she could see her, that image, through that pier of glass. And there, then she was looking slender. And it requires some mastery to look into the glass and then to make how you are looking to here. Then she was looking slender and she had mastered the art also. So that means she was about to leave. Suddenly she whirled from the window and stood before the glass Her eyes were shining brilliantly, but her face had lost its color within 20 seconds. Rapidly, she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. So what happened? Suddenly, a thought came to her. Then she decided. She stood before the glass, and then again she had a very good idea. So that her eyes started shining brilliantly, and because color within 20 seconds. Before she was crying, now she got some courage, and she pulled down her hair, let it fall to its full length. Now, there are two positions of the James Dillingham Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in that flat across the air shaft, then Della would have let her hair hang out of the window someday to dry just to depreciate Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. Had King Solomon been the janitor with all his treasures piled up in his basement, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed and just to see him pluck at his bed from envy. So that means their possessions, Jella had a long hair and then Jim had that is a wristwatch, that is gold watch, that too, from whom he got, that is his father's and his grandfather's. So that is, he was he preserved it very then preciously. That is, it was very precious thing he had. And so even suppose that Della's hair was so long, that is, if the Queen of Sheba, if she happened to see her hair, what she would have done, then even she would have felt that Queen of Sheba's jewel and gifts, what she was possessing would be nothing in front of her. And even King Solomon, if had if had been a janitor, that is a janitor, then what if the treasures or all the treasures he had, if they piled up in the basement also, then it won't be equal to Jim's old gold watch. So that was, he would have envied on seeing his watch. So that was the character of the two things that they were possessing. So that much strange, and it is a value. So now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown water, because her hair color was brown. When she let it down, that is her hair, then it was looking like a waterfall. It reached below her knee and made itself almost a garment for her. So it up to her knee, no, then the hair was that much long, and then it was almost a garment. It was looking like a garment for her. And then she did it up again nervously and quickly. Once she faltered for a minute and stood still, while a tear or two splashed on the worn red carpet. But suddenly what she did, she pulled it up. That is, she tied her hair, and but she dropped two tears. That is, fell on the ground. That means she was feeling very sorry for what? To, on seeing her, she felt very sad. So she would have some plan. That's why she cried. On went her old brown jacket, on went her old brown hat, and with a whirl of skirts and with a brilliant sparkle till in her eyes, she fluttered out of the door and down the stairs to the stage. Now she changed her dress, then she wore what brown jacket and a brown hat. Then she came down the steps. She was looking, she was having some decisions. She decided something to do. That's why her eyes are sparkling. Then, as if she found some solution for the present situation, worst situation. So she came out of the door and she started going down the stairs. She reached the street where she stopped. The sign read, "Ma'am Safrani, hair goods of all kinds." One flight of Della ran and collected herself, panting, "Madam, large, two, white, chilly, hardly looked the Safrani." So what she saw, then when she saw a signboard, that is a Ma'am Safrani, hair goods of all kinds. That is, she was selling wigs, all type of hairdos. One flight up Della ran, then immediately Della ran up the steps and collected herself, panting, and "Madam, what is it? Large, was white, too white, chilly, hardly looked for a Safrani. But will you buy my hair?" asked Della. "I buy hair," said Madam. "Take your hat off and let's have a sight at the books of it." Then at the looks, that is, she told her to take off her hat and then she wanted to have a look of that hair. Down trickled the brown cascade. So it already was explained as a waterfall, brown waterfall, like that hair rippled down. Then $20, said madam, lifting the mass with a practiced hand. So what, how she lifted the hair and then she valued, that is how much she could give. That is for the hair, $20. Then give it to me quickly, she said Della, and she was very happy. And over the next 2 hours, tripped by on rosy wings. Forget the hashed metaphor. She was ransacking the stores for Jim's person. Then she took the money and then she was running towards the shop. She found it at last. It's surely been made for Jim and no one else. So at last she found one gift for him. That was no other like it in any of the other stores, and she had turned all of them inside out. So what happened? So many shops stay searched, but at last she found one gift for Jim. It was, what was the gift? It was a platinum fob chain. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and chaste in design. It was looking so nice and pleasing also. Properly proclaim its value by substance alone and not by meretricious ornamentation, as all gold things should do. But here it was looking simple but very rich. It was looking very rich, and then even though not like other gold things with the ornamentation, but it was a simple value by substance alone. Then by making it alone only, then it was looking very fine. As soon as she saw it, she knew it must be. Then immediately she decided that that gift should be for Jim only. Then it was like him, quietness, value, and a description applied to both. She compared that fob, that is a platinum fob chain, then to Jim. Both are having the characters revealing. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with those 87 cents. With that chain on his watch, Jim might be properly anxious about that time in any company. So what she thought, so with that, then he would then how nice it would be to watch Jim having that watch. And when any company he is with the people, other people, then he will look different. Grand as the watch was, he sometimes looked at it on the sly on account of the old leather strap that he used in the place of a chain. But the present, what he had, that clock, that gold, the watch was tied with a strap, old leather strap. It was not looking very bad. Then she imagined, then if he has this gold watch with this chain, then how nice it would look for Jim. And when Della reached home, her intoxication gave a little to prudence and reason. She got out her curling irons and lighted the gas and went to work repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love. Immediately what she got ready, that is she got, that is made her hair, because the hair was cut, no? Then she made some curling, used curling irons to curl, lighted the gas and went to the repairing of the ravages. So now she started then making ready for receiving home Jim, which is always a tremendous task, dear friends, remember the task. Now, within 40 minutes, her head was covered with the tiny, close-lying curls, and that made her look wonderfully like a truant schoolboy. Then she was looking young, like a schoolboy, with all the curls in her hair, and she looked at her reflection in the mirror long, carefully, and critically. Then she looked at her image. If Jim doesn't kill me, then she said to herself, before he takes a second look at me, he will say, I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. Then she imagined that if Jim then looks at her with this curly hair, that is, but what could I owe? Then what could I do with $1.87? She feels very sorry for her. But even then, she imagines with that such a small amount of what gift, then gift could she buy for a Jim. At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the back of the stove hot and ready to cook the chops. Now she prepared at 7 o'clock. Then everything was ready. That is dinner she prepared. Jim was never late. Della doubled the fob chain in her hand and sat in the corner of the table near the door that he always entered. Now she was then holding that chain in her hand. Then she was sitting in the corner of the table and waiting for Jim. He always comes in time only. Then she heard his step on the stair away down on the first flight. She could hear his steps and she turned white for just a moment because she was little afraid if Jim sees that his hair cut. And she had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday thing. And now she whispered, "Please God, make him think I'm still pretty." So what she felt. So usually she used to pray, but now then she made a prayer, special prayer to God. That is that Jim should not get angry. He should always love. That is still you should make me to look pretty. Then she was praying God. The door opened and Jim stepped in and closed it. Then he looked thin and very serious. Now Jim came, entered the house, and he was looking very serious. And then poor fellow, he was only 22, and to be burdened with the family. He was still young. Only the age is 22. He needed a new overcoat and he was without a gloves. Now what happened? Overcoat, then he should have new one. Then even gloves also he was not having. Jim stopped inside the door and as immovable as a setter at the scent of the quail. And what happened? He stopped inside the door. His eyes were fixed upon Della. Now he saw Umbrella and he was looking at her only. There was an expression in them and she could not read and it terrified her. She could not understand what is the purpose, what the meaning of his look. And it was not anger, not surprise, not disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. She couldn't make out from his look what he was thinking about her. He simply stared at her fixedly with that peculiar expression on his face. He was staring at her continuously. Then Della wriggled off the table and went for him. Then she stood up there from the table and went near Jim. "Jim, darling," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present." So what she told, without giving a present, no, I couldn't. I couldn't. That is live through the Christmas. That is couldn't manage without giving a gift. I will grow. So it will grow out again. You won't mind. So my hair, because now it is short and now it will grow long in no time. Then will you? I have just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. So say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I have got for you. So what she told. Then she made him to feel happy. That is by giving that is a gift. What she brought for a what she bought for a Jim. Then the next one, "You have cut off your hair," asked Jim. Now Jim asked laboriously, as if he had not arrived at that patent fact. Yet even after the hardest mental labor, then he took time for him to realize that she has cut her hair. "You have cut off your hair? Then cut it off and sold it," said Della. "Don't you like me just as well? Anyhow, I am me without my hair." Then she's asking, "Am I not looking nice without this long hair?" And Jim looked about the room curiously. "You say your hair is gone," said, with an air almost of idiocy. "You needn't look for it," said Della. "It's sold. I tell you, sold and gone too. This Christmas Eve, boy, be good to me, or it went for you. Maybe the hairs on my head were numbered." She went on with a sudden serious sweetness, "But nobody could ever count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on Jim?" Then she asked, "Because hair will grow again, then you can count the number of hairs on my head, but you cannot count my love for you." So what? Then she was about to serve, that is dinner, chops she prepared for a dinner. Then she was asking Jim whether he is ready to have dinner. After this time, Jim seemed quickly to wake. He unfolded his dull and for 10 seconds, let us regard with a discreet scrutiny some inconsequential object in the other direction. $8 a week or $1 million a year. What is the difference? A mathematician or a wit would give you the wrong answer. The Maggie brought valuable gifts, but that was not among them. This dark assertion will be illuminated later on. So what is that? Then he was 10 seconds. He was thinking that is $8. That is that is a rent. That is whatever it $8 or million or whatever it may be. It depends upon the mathematician calculation. But there Maggie had brought what a valuable gift. So that is with great affection. Jim drew a package from his overcoat pocket and then threw it upon the table. Then he took something from his pocket. Don't make any mistake, Dell said about me. Then I don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or a shave or a shampoo that could make me like my girl any less. But if you will unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going a while at first. Then so I'm what he said, and he was not worried about anything. But only thing why he was then shocked because she had to open the gift what he brought for her. So that's why then he was looking somewhat then uneasy. White fingers and a nimble tore at the string and paper, and then an ecstatic stream of joy, and then alas, a quick feminine change, hysterical tears and wails, associating the immediate employment of all the comforting powers of the lord of the flat. So what happened? Now she tried to take that gift what he brought. So when she opened for the lay the combs, the set of combs side and back that Della had worshipped for long in a Broadway window. She wanted to buy that type of a comb long back, beautiful combs, pure tortoise shell with the jeweled rims, just the shade to wear in the beautiful vanished hair. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had simply craved and earned over them without the least hope of possession. She wanted to get this type of a comb for her hair, but her situation was not favoring her, and now they were hers, but the dresses that should have adorned and coveted adornments were gone. Now what happened? Those combs, she should wear, that she should use it for what? For a long hair, but that long hair is not there. So she hugged them to her bosom, and at length she was able to look up with dim eyes and smile and say, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." And she satisfied herself by telling that her hair would grow soon. And Jim had not yet seen this beautiful present, and he held it out to Jim eagerly upon her open palm. Now she should give her gift to Jim. Now she took it and then kept it in her open palm. The dull precious metal seemed to flash with the reflection of her bright and ardent spirit. That chain, that platinum fob chain, whatever it was looking very bright, then showing her a love. And isn't it a dandy, Jim? I hunted all over the town to find it. You will have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it. Now what she said, then okay, you are looking your watch now 100 times. Now we will have a different, not the leather, walnut leather strap. Now you can change it to this chain. Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down on the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled. Now what happened? He sat on the couch and Dell, let us put our Christmas presents away and keep them a while. They are too nice to use just at present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now suppose you put the chops on. So what happened? He revealed that anyhow, let us enjoy the gifts what we are having, but we cannot use it at present. In future, we may use it. It will be useful for us because I sold the watch to get the money to buy homes for you. But now you better put it in. What is the you saw me the chops the dinner for me. The Maggie, then as you know, were wise men. So what is that Maggie? The name. The Maggie is that is here Maggie. So Maggie is that is what they are having. The three people. It shows. It tells a story of that is Maggie. The three people. So that is they are not lamely related to you. That is the three people. They invented the art of the Christmas persons being wise. Their gifts were no doubt wise and possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of a duplication. And here, lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flood. Who are the two foolish children? That is a Jim and Dell. They are the two foolish, unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. She sacrificed her hair and he sacrificed his then very old ancient watch. But in last word to the wise of these days, let it be said, all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Then of all who give and receive gifts, such as they were wisest. Everywhere they are wisest, they are the Magi. So it is no matter that is whatever it may be the gifts they are giving. Then on Christmas Day, but the love they show, that is by giving the gifts, that is more important than the thing they are presenting. So that's what the Magi is considered. That is, they were the wise men. They brought the gifts to the newborn Jesus. According to the Bible, the Magi were the three kings, Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar, who traveled to Bethlehem from somewhere in the east, probably Persia. They came to give the gift to newborn Jesus. So this is the thing, that's why it is called the gift of the Magi. So those two, that is that couple, Jim and Della, they bought a gift now. It is equivalent to the gift given to infant Jesus. That means that much value it has got.